Girl, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you need to do everything in your power to keep your corporate job right now.
I think I could speak on behalf of all quitters, considering I am the corporate quitter. Yeah, we're entering into a phase of just literal despair.
If you have a job in this economy, keep it. Please keep it.
Okay, so as we near the end of 2025 with no real sign of the job market getting better anytime soon, I thought we should take a look at some people regretting quitting their jobs recently. I know that many jobs are pretty terrible, but one of the most important things you need to have consistently coming in is a paycheck in this high cost of living world. We are going to take a look at a lot of reasons today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with a couple of the relatable posts I've seen.
So I just quit my corporate job like a couple days ago, and at first I was like really excited. But now as the days go by, I'm like, damn, I kind of miss having money.
Same girl, I miss money and health insurance. You quit without having a job lined up in this market. The job market is so bad, it goes on, and there's more clips similar. Me thinking about the job I missed but had to quit because it was stressing me out, but it was giving me 40 hours a week, and now this new job pays more, but I only get 6 hours a week, and I don't have the balls to ask to get hired again. Another one here, POV, when you regret quitting your last job and it's just somebody screaming. Me at my current job right now, I guess we're all going through it. And I think this comment from you guys goes very well with this. As someone who's gone through a lot of different jobs, it's not always greener on the other side. Sometimes your next job will be worse than the one you previously had. Now I want to bring this back to around 2020 to 2022 with the Great Resignation and now the Great Regret, and compare what the climate looks like in today's world.
Have you heard of the Great Regret? Yeah, a new survey shows almost 3/4 of employees who quit their jobs recently experienced either regret or surprise that their new position was different from what they thought it would be. At first, this surprised me. And then I realized the pandemic has really made people rethink their jobs and their well-being. It wouldn't surprise me if it takes people a few tries to find that right job fit. I think this is going to have huge effects on shorter job stays, on the war for talent, and companies doing things like strengthening their alumni programs. What do you think about this revolving door? Is it a good thing?
Well, comparing the apparent strengthening of the alumni programs to just the mass layoffs that we see on a daily basis right now, much different climate than people predicted, but we go over to the comments. No offense, but I think this is made up to try to eliminate the Great Resignation the same way they try to change opinions on work from home. There's a lot of comments like this. Great Regret sounds made up by the people who want to slow down the Great Resignation. I think this is an exaggeration of a common feeling people have when they make a big change. They're framing this to bring down the resignations. However, we can move on to this example.
I think I could speak on behalf of all quitters, considering I am the corporate quitter. Yeah, we're entering into a phase of just literal despair. Something that's trending right now is called the Great Remorse, and essentially, apparently, a lot of people are feeling regretful of the decision that they made to quit. Now, I'm a quitter. I quit about almost crazy 2 years ago. I don't feel necessarily remorse for quitting because frankly, I'm the happiest I've ever been, but I'm definitely the most stressed that I've ever been. And this is part of like the entrepreneurial game, right? That's what happens when you job hop or you try something new, like it's expected. But I feel like there's something more going on here. We're witnessing the collapse of so many systems simultaneously that I feel like that in combination with the financial stress and just like uncertainty of what's going to happen is just at an all-time high.
And this clip was uploaded in 2022, and things have only gotten worse in the past 3 years. Another comment from you guys here, my dad would tell me, when's the best time to find a job? While you still have one. That way you don't settle for a lower one out of desperation. Because there are a good amount of examples online we're going to see a little bit later in the video of many people recording themselves quitting their jobs with no backup plans. They're going to wing it and see what happens, which a good amount of the time isn't 100% true, but I do believe it influences other people who watch to follow in their footsteps. And I don't think that's the greatest choice, especially if you don't think it through. But we could go over to the next example of somebody answering a question from one of her comment sections. Can you do a video on why you quit and why you regret it? I'm very curious.
So I did 2 years as a personal shopping assistant at Bergdorf's, and then the third year I really wanted a change and I really wanted to be on the like more client experience and event side, which didn't really exist at the time. So the role that I was put in was kind of created for me and for a need that they were trying to fill. So it was great. I had the best manager. I loved who I worked with. I still talk to them. I tried to go back last year and it just like there wasn't a spot for me at the time. But I left on like the best terms. Ultimately, the reason I left is because the role that I was in wasn't as developed, obviously because the department was all new, and they were still figuring out like what budget looked like, what direction they wanted to take it in, and I really wanted to go to a bigger company that had that all developed, thinking that like might have their shit together too. Fun fact, they didn't. And it was definitely a big learning curve for me that no one has their shit together, no matter what company or industry you're in. And I ended up going to Cartier, which I thought was amazing, except I got fired 6 months later because of social media. So
Okay then, we got a few things to talk about. It seemed like she had somewhat of a steady job but wanted to change into another field that didn't really exist at her job. So it kind of looks like they made the position for her even though it wasn't very developed. She ends up leaving that job to go to a larger company, Cartier, ends up getting fired 6 months later because of her social media apparently, and then tried to go back to her previous job and they didn't have any positions open. So I tried to search through her account to see if there was anything crazy. I mean, she has 10,000 followers, but that's not crazy big in TikTok terms. But maybe Cartier in general doesn't really want you to have a social media presence. And unfortunately, she got canned from that job and can't go back to the old one. We'll talk a lot more about the social media and influencer thing a little bit later in the video, but we have another similar example right here.
In the last 24 hours, I went from quitting my job and putting in a 2 weeks notice to then being told from the job that I was going to be starting that, hey, just kidding, we can't afford to bring you on anymore, to then going back to that old job and saying, hey, also just kidding, I'd like to keep my job here, please, to have them say, yeah, that's fine. So basically, I went on this whole journey where I'm back to where I started. Nothing has changed. The only difference is I am just exhausted.
I would honestly count himself very lucky because in the layoff videos, we've seen many examples like this where somebody was lining up a new job at a new company and they put in their 2 weeks. The exact same thing happens, but the old job does not have the position anymore. They hired somebody immediately. Another situation that'll happen often, maybe you work there for a few weeks, few months, and then you get hit with the newest round of layoffs, and especially because you've barely been here, you're first on the chopping block. And then you're back to square one in this job market. Now we could go over to some interesting examples that I've seen, a whole bunch of clips online like this. It's the same type of video over and over again. Reasons I regret quitting my job, and they just don't say anything. They're just putting on makeup. They don't have any reasoning, trying to get the point across that they don't regret quitting their job at all. But a lot of these accounts I've seen are influencers that just aren't in the same situation as most modern day people. This person has almost 130,000 followers and apparently is on some sort of possibly dating Netflix reality show at Netflix Perfect Match Season 3. I've never heard of it, but that's what it sounds like to me. But we have another one here, blowing my life up at 24 years old, quitting corporate with no backup. However, the more you listen to this video, there seems like there was a backup plan all along.
I put in my 2 weeks at my job and tomorrow's my last day. That job paid me $90,000 a year almost, and it was the most money I've ever made in my life. It was stable, it was fine, and I still quit because I realized I was living my worst case scenario. 24, living at home with my parents in a state and city I do not enjoy. None of my friends are here. And I'm working a job I do not like and going into an office 4 days a week, now 5 days a week because they just implemented that before I quit. What does it matter? Like, what else is there? If I'm going to be unhappy and already living in my worst case scenario, why not go where I'm happy? I've been wanting to go back to New York. I'm going to live with my friends again. I can see my friends way more often. I can be in a state and a city that I enjoy and that I like. And I'll be doing work that I truly enjoy. I'll be focusing on my own business for the rest of this year, and then we'll see where it goes. I have savings. I am also very capable. And I did the same exact thing last year where I quit my corporate job. I had like savings and I was living by myself and paying $1,500 in rent. If I could do that, I can do this.
Okay, so no matter what she does, it's still her choice. I understand that. But there seems to be a pretty solid plan behind it. So the quitting the job with no backup plan isn't very truthful in my opinion. She has money saved up and she's already done this a year prior. So again, if you engage with this type of content on TikTok, you'll see more and more examples of it, putting these types of thoughts in your head when the people you're watching aren't being 100% truthful in the first place. But we could go over to some of the comments. $90,000 right out of college. Doing what? Internal audit. I mean, many people would be very happy with $90,000 in today's world. Another comment, $90,000 a year in North Carolina. That goes way farther than going to NYC or New York State. I mean, again, it's her life. She could do what she wants, but there is no way I would move to New York City. Being New York City or even New York State, it is way too cold for me. I like North Carolina way better. And I feel like a lot of people would kill to be in her position today. Another comment from you guys here. I work a corporate job and it's not my forever job, but there's a lot more you could learn when you work for someone else. Plus, I need the benefits. Before we get into the rest of the video, I'm not trying to tell you that you're supposed to be a cog in the machine for the rest of your life. Don't ever open your own business or take a risk. Just sit in your cubicle until you're 70 or 75 years old. I just think there should be a solid plan behind any of the decisions right now in this economy, and I think many people should just wait this out, especially if they have a stable job. It's not like you're unable to do something on the side, maybe a few hours a week, doesn't have to be crazy, but immediately jumping in the deep end right now, I think is pretty dangerous, which kind of sounds like exactly what this next example did.
I quit my job and today I'm having regret. Let's talk about it. I currently work as a PA in the urgent care. My last day is May 28th and I made 6 figures. There's a couple of reasons why I quit. One, because my job was just not fulfilling. Healthcare is not what it used to be. It was draining me, it was burning me out. And the way that the company was running things, I just didn't want to stand by and be part of that. Number 2, I wanted to be home more. Maybe a stay-at-home mom, but just have the flexibility and freedom to be a present mom, because a lot of times I was gone from over 13-14 hours a day. I'm trying to stay open for something that is maybe per diem or part-time. However, the market in Southern California is super saturated. Also, currently all the boys are under my health insurance, so by the end of the month we are not going to have health insurance. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling like I don't know what my purpose is. I was super excited to post a whole lot more on TikTok, and I feel like I've been trying to pump out content. I just don't know what the right content is, because I just post what I think I want to see. I just post my normal everyday life, like no crazy edits or anything like that. Maybe I need to up my Prozac, who knows?
Okay, there's a lot to go over there. This person was making 6 figures in the healthcare industry, decided to quit that job because it wasn't fulfilling. However, she has children under her healthcare plan while also living in Southern California, one of the most expensive areas in the country. And other than somewhat part-time work, it kind of seems like she also wants to be a mom influencer, but doesn't really have a plan for that either. She's just recording her daily life, nothing too crazy, no insane edits, just the kind of content that she would personally watch. I honestly don't know about that, especially having the responsibility of your children being under your healthcare plan, along with, of course, the cost of living being even more expensive where she lives. Another comment from you guys I think goes very well with the last clip. If the worst thing about your job is that it's boring or it's not my dream job, keep your job. Look for something else, sure, but don't just up and quit. And it kind of sounds like that's exactly what she did. Now we can go over to another example of somebody quitting their job and trying to be the mommy influencer again, and it not working out.
1 year ago today, I quit my job to try to be a mom and a full-time influencer, and it blew up in my face because not only am I not a mom, I'm not an influencer, and I'm not even married anymore. I remember quitting my job and feeling so much excitement about the next chapter. There was so much going on behind the scenes that you guys didn't know.
I wanted to move home to Southern California, give my kids a better quality of life, and take a risk and believe in myself, and truly believing that my husband was on the same page as me, all the while feeling a different way, has been a really hard pill to swallow. And I remember even moving down here by myself, I still felt that delusional sense of optimism, and honestly, I don't know if I can do it anymore. I think you often hear the influencer success stories, but you don't always hear when financially it gets really hard. I've even found myself questioning if I am capable of being a mom, because I feel like I can barely take care of myself and my dogs. And even though I've tried to make the most of this time, it's been such a burden mentally, physically, emotionally, emotionally and financially. But content has been my dream since I was in high school, literally since I heard about it for the first time.
Okay, again, a lot of stuff to talk about, pretty similar to the last clip. The exact same mommy type of influencer living in Southern California, the LA lifestyle. On a little side note, I think that influencer type of niche is highly oversaturated, so it'll be even harder to gain popularity there, but I don't know all the details on why she ended up getting divorced, but it kind of sounded like her husband didn't want to go to Southern California and do that whole influencer lifestyle thing. But she ended up moving there anyway with her kid, apparently not bringing enough money in to be a successful full-time influencer. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say, other than maybe there should have been a game plan yet again. But all you see on social media is the success stories of somebody quitting their job and then building a 7-figure business within just a couple of years, or getting millions, tens of millions of followers all over social media. But those people are the anomalies. They are the outliers. Most of the time, it won't end up working out, unfortunately. And even if you do start getting views or somewhat of a following, especially on TikTok, the money isn't nearly as lucrative as it seems when you're talking about videos getting millions of views.
How much TikTok has paid me on a video I have that has 2.1 million views. Of those 2.1 million views, around 970,000 watched the whole video. I gained 682 new followers. It has 117.8 thousand likes. My RPM was 0.88. Of that 2.1 million, about 1 million or so qualified. And how much I made on that entire video? Absolutely freaking nothing, because I'm not in the Creator Rewards program yet.
Okay, so first off, if you do want to be this type of influencer, you have to have 10,000 followers just to be able to start making money off of TikTok. But with the metrics she put out, the 2.1 million views that she got, 1 million of them qualified with an RPM of 0.88. If she was able to make money at the time, she would have made about $880 from that video, which of course is not nothing, but how many people are really uploading videos that are getting several million views every day? Not that many people. So you're going to have to get a crazy amount of views and followers to really be able to make a substantial amount of money on TikTok. Just something I think people need to realize before they start jumping into this game. But here we have a little update video from a user that I talked about on my second channel, but we'll just roll it.
I'm looking at jobs right now, well, applying to jobs right now. I just came across the funniest thing, and I've came across this too many times today. Listen to the qualifications. 3 to 7 years of experience in marketing, creative production, or project coordination. And then it also says corporate or agency setting preferred. Can y'all guess how much they're willing to pay someone to do all this with 7 years of experience? $25 an hour. That's entry level nowadays. $25 an hour. You need 7 years of experience.
So if you've seen any of my terrible job listings and demand videos, this is honestly what we see all the time. But I thought it was interesting from this particular creator because I have another series on my second channel of people getting fired because of their social media and TikTok. And just a few months ago, he uploaded a video like this, just got fired because of my TikTok page. Now this used to be a Mercedes-Benz car salesman, which right off the bat, a very high-end luxury dealership. If you played your cards right, that'd be a pretty solid career. However, this person was going live on TikTok every day, showing the whole car buying process, had potential customers' voices in the video, just recording everything throughout the whole day. Eventually, his manager found out and he ended up getting fired for it. But he said he was just going to turn this into a social media career. He was going to be some sort of influencer. And now we're seeing videos just uploaded a day ago of him looking and applying for jobs. So I guess the social media career didn't pan out, and now you have to deal with the absolutely horrendous job market.
I mean this with love, but I really don't think most people are cut out to be self-employed. And I say this as somebody that is currently self-employed. You need to trust yourself so much and trust that things are going to work out in your favor, because a lot of times you're going to have a lot of doubts and you just have to push through, power through all that. Not to mention, you need to be so good at structuring your time and being so organized, because nobody's there to hold your hand or tell you what you need to be doing or what to do or how to make things happen. You're on your own, which is a hard thing, but it is also the greatest thing about being self-employed. free. You get to control how things come out. And if things don't go well, yes, it's all on you. But if things go well, there's no ceiling. It might just be because I quit my job, but I feel like so many people glamorize leaving their jobs. And again, I do think that there's a beautiful thing in just following the path that you feel most aligned in. But I cannot emphasize how hard this can be as well. And how you really need to be so committed to the vision and the goals and what you want to do, because nobody's coming and doing it for you.
And I just don't think many people realize this when they do quit their job and they say, you know what, I'm just going to start my own business or start some social media career. You need to be very confident in yourself and have a solid game plan, know exactly what you're going to do, have money behind you, emergency funds. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than, you know what, I'll just do it. I saw so-and-so blow up on TikTok in just a few months and now they got a full-time career. I'm going to be just like them. Even though once in a while this does happen, most of the time you don't see anybody actually blow up like that. They've been making content online for a long time. Nobody ever realized it though. Nobody watched before. I'm not trying to say this to discourage anybody. It just takes a lot more time than you think. Same thing with starting your own business or really anything along the lines of that. Another comment from you guys here. What people don't understand is even when you get your dream job, there'll always be aspects to it that you will not enjoy. So many are looking for the absolute perfect job. Nothing's wrong. You'll have no problems in your life, making a ton of money. And to be honest, that's a unicorn. It just doesn't really exist.
Guess who put her 2 weeks in 2 weeks ago, and today was the last day of that 2 weeks and now is unemployed again after applying to 400 jobs to get this one job that she just quit because she was so miserable in corporate America and now has to apply for probably 400 more jobs in the next month. But at least I get to go to an influencer event tonight.
The amount of examples that I find with the influencer stuff is ridiculous. I don't know. All I have to say is I am not envious of anybody having to go through this job market right now. And there are many clips that I found of people telling others to not quit their jobs right now.
Bro, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you need to do everything in your power to keep your corporate job right now. My friend who quit last month has applied to 3,000, I'm not kidding, 3,000 jobs. I know corporate life is draining, but do everything in your power to keep it. Like cry during your lunch break, an AI app to take your notes, suck up to your managers. I don't know, bestie. Whatever you do, do not quit your job. It is just not worth it in this economy.
So to add on top of this type of subject, I've seen some sort of guerrilla marketing when it comes to trying to get people to download software to help them in this terrible market. We'll just run these two clips and talk about it after.
If you have a job in this economy, keep it. Please keep it. I've applied to over 2,000 jobs on Sprout. Literally just look at my history. I don't really care if your boss is ass and pissing you off. Just imagine being unemployed.
Well, if you have a job in this economy, keep it. Keep it. I have applied to over 2,000 jobs, okay? 2,000, all of them on Sprout. I'm still applying. I do not care if your pay is ass or if your manager is pissing you off. Imagine being unemployed. Just imagine.
So these people are reading from a script trying to make it seem relatable, but in the end they're pushing whatever Sprout is. It seems like it's some sort of job application AI, swiping back and forth Tinder type of thing, which in my personal opinion I think makes the job market even worse, because with a few clicks of the button you could just apply to every job that you see on Indeed, LinkedIn, and then when everybody starts doing it, it just narrows your chances down even more than it already is. It's not too surprising anymore when you see 1,000 different applicants on a job that was posted just a couple days ago. But I did think it was interesting enough to put in this video the sneaky marketing of I'm just like everybody else, the job market's difficult, but I am using Sprout. This is interesting though. Just subtle ways that people are trying to sell you things 24/7. We have another experience from one of you guys right here. I quit my job of 4 years in early 2024 and was trying to have the high ticket sales offer like a lot of these guru influencers online shame people for not making $20,000 a month. We've seen that all too often. Long story short, I worked as hard as I could, lived off of savings for 7 months, and it didn't work. Finally had to go back to a 9-to-5. Got laid off 3 months later, had to do DoorDash for 2 months, had massive car repairs during that time, then got another job and had 2 injuries that made me have to quit 3 weeks later. Finally have some steady work now at a dealership, lost all of my savings. I learned some painful but yet eye-opening lessons during that time span. Listen to this video, don't quit unless you have a plan. I know I've been saying this over and over again throughout the video because this seems like I'm very crabby. I'm not saying that nobody should ever quit their job in their lifetime, but you just need to have a solid game plan in this market.
I have wanted to talk about this for the longest time. I truly believe that I left my corporate career way too prematurely in my business journey. I am saying this as someone who 5 years after leaving her corporate career has now began a new one at 28 years old, and also someone who is loving it and seeing herself thriving in a career again. So I want to preface with that. I really do love the career that I've started and the opportunities. I've loved getting stuck into something again. I'm just going to dive in why I believe I left my career way too young, as somebody who had been building that career for 6 years at a company who paid for her degree and also actually was enjoying it. I think at 24 years old, I definitely fell into that mindset of, oh, wow, like I can travel more, I can earn all this money. And I was very fortunate that in the first year of being part of a business, I actually did build my income to a very healthy level, and it did match my corporate salary. Realistically, I probably could have done both and kept my corporate income to cover things like my mortgage, my bills, and then use my additional income for savings, investments, or just putting it to better use. What leaving my corporate career at 24 did to me was put a massive amount of pressure on me as a 24-year-old that had quit her job, that was doing this business, which months after leaving my corporate career, I realized I just was not aligned to it at all.
This is so refreshing to hear because you only hear about leaving your job to start a business. You don't really hear anyone saying that they regret it. I agree with you so much. Doing both is actually a very smart strategy. As someone else who's doing this, hard agree. But that's not the type of story that hits headlines or gets in the algorithm. We like the success story of somebody risking everything, uprooting their life. They have no savings, no plan, and boom, they become a millionaire, super successful. But unfortunately, that does not happen a majority of the time.
One of the biggest lessons that I learned from quitting my job last October to try and create content full time is that I didn't start creating content quick enough. I did not start recording quick enough. And that delay eventually led to this depression, anxiety, and hesitation surrounding creating content. So this time getting let go from a job, I'm documenting the entire process. I documented my grieving process and I moved through it pretty quick. And I feel like the reason that I moved through it so quick was because I didn't feel like I was just sitting around not doing anything.
Okay, so I do understand with what he's trying to say, but real quick, we can look at one of the comments from this clip. I have a regret leaving one of my jobs. My manager was keeping me stagnant. Once I left, she shortly left after. Then it had me trying to find a job that was the right fit. I have high anxiety and is anxious now, still trying to find my path. But I wanted to put this in because it seemed like, again, there wasn't that much of a plan when it came to the social media career. He wasn't uploading enough. You have to be extremely consistent on all platforms to grow. It sounded like it wasn't working out. He ended up getting another job. And then eventually when he was laid off from that one, he documented everything, which I think is a slippery slope. Again, on my second channel, I have an entire series of people getting fired over their social media. Some of the examples are very ridiculous of people recording on the job. They have their uniform on, they're doing crazy stuff, right? But there are other corporations that just don't want you to have a social media presence at all. Doesn't matter if you're uploading crazy things, they just don't want to see it. So I do think there could be issues in his future job hunt if he did end up documenting him getting laid off and the process of going through and trying to find another job. I still remember the example of a woman named Brittany who recorded herself getting fired over Zoom, racked up millions of views, it was on the news, but because of that, it was extremely difficult for her to find a new career. Nobody wanted to hire her because if there were any problems at that job, they thought that she would start uploading it on social media and it would just be a problem for them. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and I'll talk to you guys later.